The movie starts off with 12-year-old Dre Parker and his mother Sherry moving from Detroit to Beijing. They're relocating because Sherry has got a job transfer in her car factory. They arrive at a small neighborhood where Dre is approached by another American boy. The boy accompanies Dre and his mother to their apartment and helps them with the luggage. He then invites Dre to come and play in a nearby park, which can be seen from the apartment window. After a while, the apartment owner arrives and shows her new tenants around. She says that if Sherry needs any maintenance task, she can call Mr. Han. He is the apartment's caretaker and knows English very well. After the owner leaves, Sherry hops into the bathroom to take a hot bath. However, the shower doesn't seem to be working properly, so she asks her son to call Mr. Han. Dre then goes over to Mr. Han's room and calls out for him. However, the maintenance guy ignores him as he's busy eating his lunch. Just then, Dre sees some kids going over to the park. He follows them there, where he eyes a young and pretty violinist, Mei Ying, who also reciprocates his attention. In order to impress her, Dre plays ping pong with some old men, but sadly loses the game. Mei Ying is equally intrigued by this new guy and his funny antics, so she too cannot keep her eyes off of him. Dre's American friend from earlier advises him to go and talk with Mei Ying. When Dre approaches her, Mei Ying talks with him politely and is even fascinated by his unique dreadlocks. Meanwhile, some of the neighborhood boys standing at a distance notice them. One of them, Cheng, who turns out to be a rebellious kung fu prodigy whose family is close to Mei Ying's, attempts to keep them apart. He becomes enraged at the young girl for making friends with a stranger and throws her papers on the ground. When Dre sees this, he immediately picks up the papers and hands them over to Mei Ying. However, Cheng becomes hostile towards our little hero, as well as brutally pushes him to the ground. Because of this, Dre feels extreme pain in his chest and also sustains bruises under his eyes. He then sadly returns home, feeling humiliated. The next day, he tries to cover up the bruises under his eyes using his mother's makeup. He also goes to the school donning a cap. However, he cannot cheat his mother for too long, and she eventually notices his bruises. When she tries to talk to him about it, Dre comes up with an excuse and manages to slip away with the headmistress. Much to his disappointment, Cheng and his friends also go to the same school. Dre tries to avoid them when he sees them in the lobby. Later, when he returns from school, he tries to learn kung fu while watching TV. Just then, Mr. Han also arrives at the apartment for maintenance work and notices the boy. He examines the bathroom pipes and fixes them. After completing his work, he calls Dre and guides him on fixing the pipes in case of any problem. He also asks the kid about the wound on his face. However, the boy once again makes up an excuse. He then continues to practice kung fu, ignoring his mom. Sherry is enraged at him for not picking up his wet jacket lying on the floor. While this is happening, Mr. Han notices everything from afar. The following day at school, Cheng and his friends threaten Dre not to make any friends with Chinese kids at school, including Mei Ying. Because of this, Dre is left alone, and he leaves the school with an upset face. That afternoon, he and his mom tour the local market to buy groceries. While doing so, he hears some kids practicing kung fu in a nearby public arena. He excitedly follows the sound and discovers a grand kung fu academy where people are training in martial arts. He then goes inside the academy, only to find that Cheng is one of the highly trained kids there. Dre's mood soon changes, and he leaves the scene with a rather sad face. His mom tries to ask him about his mood, but Dre refuses to tell anything to her. However, after much convincing from his mom, he eventually bursts into tears, saying he doesn't like China and how people treat him here. In fact, he wants to return to Detroit as soon as possible. In response, his mom tells him that he's being unreasonable and they need some time to settle down. Meanwhile, Mr. Han seems to be watching the drama unfold from his apartment. In the next scene, during a field trip to the Forbidden City, Cheng and his friends continue to bully Dre. They only stop when the headmistress intervenes. While returning home, Dre comes across buckets of sewage water. Enraged at how he's being treated as of late, he throws the water over his bullies. Moments after, Cheng and his friends chase and brutally beat Dre up until he is saved by the maintenance man, Mr. Han. The bullies attack Mr. Han. But much to their surprise, he reveals himself to be a kung fu master. Mr. Han efficiently subdues Cheng and the bullies before taking an injured Dre to his apartment. After helping the little guy with his injuries using ancient fire cupping techniques, Mr. Han explains that Cheng and his friends aren't necessarily bad people. However, they've been influenced by their guru, Master Li, who teaches them to be ruthless. Intrigued, Dre asks Mr. Han to teach him kung fu, but the latter initially refuses. Instead, he takes him to meet Master Li at the academy, the Fighting Dragon Studio, to reconcile with Cheng. However, the merciless Master Li suggests a fight between Dre and Cheng. Mr. Han thinks for a while and proposes a different solution. He suggests Dre participate in an open martial arts tournament against Master Li's students, and if Dre shows up, the students will leave him alone to train for the competition. Master Li agrees to the agreement, as he knows Dre doesn't have what it takes to win. Following this, Mr. Han makes a promise to teach Dre kung fu and starts the training by focusing on movements that have broader applications in life. For instance, he initially makes the boy pick up his wet jacket over and over again for the first week. He plans to teach Dre the importance of patience and determination, because kung fu is not just about fighting skills. Mr. Han further emphasizes that true mastery of martial arts comes from inner calm and maturity, rather than just physical strength. The training that involves repetitive motions with Dre's jacket supposedly builds real muscle memory. One day, Dre approaches his crush Mei Ying, and then they make a pact. They promise each other that Dre will attend Mei Ying's audition and that she will come to Dre's tournament at any cost. Later, Mr. Han takes Dre to a Taoist temple in the Wudang Mountains. On the way, he tells the boy that he wants him to attain Xie's power, the ultimate test of patience, and the power is not attained by everybody else. Arriving at the mountains, Dre observes a woman making a cobra mimic her movements. Here, Dre also drinks water from an ancient Taoist well. He learns that the water gives him internal strength and coherence. Mr. Han also teaches him with some sticks along the riverside. After finishing the day, Mr. Han allows him to spend time with Mei Ying. They have some fun in the market, tasting different food and indulging in different activities. Amidst this, Mei Ying almost ends up missing her violin audition, which was rescheduled without her knowledge. Because of this, her parents labeled Dre as a bad influence and forbid her from seeing him again. Just then, Cheng and his friends arrive at the auditorium and mock him. They also remind him of the upcoming tournament and threaten to eliminate him in the first round. The following day, Dre visits Han and discovers him seemingly drunk, smashing a car he was working on. Han then reveals a heartbreaking story to Dre. Years ago, he had crashed the same car, leading to the tragic deaths of his wife and 10-year-old son. Despite fixing the car annually, Han intentionally destroys it as a painful reminder of the devastating incident. This revelation deeply impacts Dre, motivating him to train even harder to help his teacher heal from the emotional wounds. Over the next few weeks, Mr. Han continues to train Dre and even takes the kid to the Great Wall of China. Dre gradually masters the kung fu skills with his hard work and dedication. In the meantime, Mei Ying continues to ignore him at school. Mr. Han notices Dre's rather upset mood during one of their training sessions. The little boy then opens up about his ruined friendship with Mei Ying. Hearing his words, Mr. Han assists him in writing and delivering a sincere apology in Mandarin to Mei Ying's father. Fortunately, the man accepts the apology and assures him that Mei Ying will be present at the tournament to support him. Later, Mr. Han takes Dre to the tournament venue. He wants the kid to be prepared for the setting and also hands him a costume to wear tomorrow. In the next scene, it is finally the tournament day, and Mr. Han makes Dre understand that he has to get 2 points in order to win a match. Initially, the boy struggles to keep up with his more confident competitors. In his first match, he backs down, due to which his opponent is able to secure the first point for himself. Just when it appears that he's going to be eliminated, Mr. Han shouts some words of encouragement at him. This is enough to rile Dre up, and he ends up knocking his opponent down, hence securing the victory. Dre eventually reaches the semi-finals, and Mr. Han makes him understand that he has to secure 3 points in order to reach the finals. Cheng, on the other hand, aggressively defeats his opponents. showing no mercy to anyone who stands against him. In the semifinals, Dre barely manages to beat one of Master Lee's students. However, in the process, he is severely injured in the leg. When he's taken to the infirmary for inspection, the doctor reveals that Dre cannot compete in the tournament anymore under such a critical condition. Meanwhile, it is announced that Dre can be disqualified if he doesn't return to the ring quickly. Desperate to overcome his fear and face Cheng in the final, Dre pleads with Mr. Han to use the fire cupping method to heal his leg. Han reluctantly agrees, and Dre is set to face Cheng with limited time. The final match is intense, starting with Cheng throwing Dre off the stage. His mom and Mei Ying gasp in fear and pray for his safety. Fortunately, Dre regains his footing and punches Cheng in the shoulders. The match is eventually tied at 2 points each, with the next point deciding the champion. Just then, Master Lee calls Cheng and reminds him of his motto. The final bell rings, suggesting the start of the final round. Following his master's order, Cheng exploits Dre's broken leg with a powerful kick, causing the latter to lose balance. Despite this setback, Dre regains confidence and uses a snake stance learned at the temple, successfully countering Cheng's attack. He then performs a spectacular move, flipping and landing a kick to Cheng's head. This not only secures him the victory, but also earns him the respect of Cheng and his classmates. They all bow down to him as a sign of gratitude. The movie ends with Mr. Han and Dre carrying the trophy with a victorious smile on their face.